short reloading videos. I am in the middle of breaking in a barrel that I will be hand loading for. So I thought, well, it's technically reloading related, so I decided to show you what I'm doing. This is a 16-inch AR. It is in 6.8 SPC2. The barrel is a stainless barrel from Bison. And I am, like I said, in the middle of breaking this barrel in. I am not recommending to you that you break in a barrel. I'm not suggesting that it is in any way required. I am doing it anyway. And the prime mover here is this Montana Extreme Copper Killer. It is a copper removing solvent. It smells like ammonia. However, it is not. It is advertised as not going to etch the barrel. So right now I have ran 2 wet patches through this bore, and I'm letting the gun soak. So I am using a JP Enterprises cleaning rod guide, the 223 version. It is big enough to handle a 6.8. And also a Wheeler, I don't know if it's Wheeler Engineering, but this is a Wheeler cleaning link that goes between the takedown pin and the lug on the back of the receiver here. So I wanted to show you, this has been shot twice, and the procedure per Montana Extreme, but also Joe Carlos, who you can find on YouTube, and I find him to be very interesting and having compelling information about ARs and making them accurate. And I don't institute a lot of his suggestions because I don't have a machine shop. Also, I'm not trying to sort a full shipment of barrels to find the very best ones. But the process in general is clean the barrel, apply a little bit of oil. In my case, I'm using CLP, and fire a single round. And the reason that you apply some oil to the bore is that it will greatly reduce the amount of copper fouling that will take place during these break-ins. And even when it's a fully broken in barrel, there is suggestions to say, hey, always oil the bore a little bit. It'll reduce fouling quite a bit. Maybe, maybe not. But clean barrel, oiled, fire around, bring it back, completely clean it, and oil it, and bring it back and fire around, and do this for 10 rounds. That's the procedure that I'm involved in. I've done this before on 223 barrels. I'm doing it on this 6.8. I'm using a one-piece, I don't know if it's carbon fiber or if it's nylon, but it's a single piece with a 6.5 millimeter jake on the end, and then some cleaning patches from Southern Bloomer Manufacturing. These are a little thick, so I use the 6.5 millimeter jake, and it works really well. But let me show you this. This bore was totally clean, and it was pushing completely clean patches. And I fired a single round out of it with a little oil in it. And look at these 2 patches looked like after 1 round. This was the very first patch that came out. Let me get this in frame for you. Okay. So quite a bit of like powder residue, and I can see it. This lighting's terrible, but I can see in this a little bluish hue from copper. And then this is the second patch that got pushed. Okay, a little bit better, but still pretty dirty for 1 round. Okay, so that is why there's this idea of breaking in the barrel. There's excessive fouling in the first few shots of the barrel. So the idea is something like, no matter what the manufacturing process was, if they pushed a button, pulled a button, did a cold hammer forge, cut the barrel with traditional cutting, whatever, even hand lapping, that there's nothing that's going to smooth out a bore better than running ammo through it. And the idea is the cleaner the bore when you're running the ammo, the truer, I guess, or the less contaminated the break-in, as the jacket really kind of burnishes the bore. These are not the right terms, I don't think, guys, but you know, I have people get on me about saying porosity. There is no porosity in a stainless steel barrel, but basically it's trying to smooth out bumps in the barrel, you know, very small ones that collect copper. Especially, this is a significant issue in a gun with a gas port, because if you look down here, and I have a Borescope and I can look at these bores after the first shot and then after the 10th, and let me tell you, the copper fouling from this, after following this method, the amount of fouling in general is vastly reduced after that 10th shot. Okay, so the bore is staying relatively clean. But I'll tell you what, the main place where we have a ton of fouling is on the top, right after that port. Okay, until that area is totally kind of smoothed out and worked out, boy oh boy, do you see fouling right after that point. So this has been resting or soaking for about, I don't know, around 15 minutes. So what I wanted to do was run 2 more wet patches. Ideally, if I might pop off, probably will do this off camera, but I'll pop off this optic and I'll turn this over, because the thought is there's so much fouling after the gas port on the top that you actually want to clean these upside down, so that any of this Montana Extreme that's going to sit in the barrel is going to lay right near that spot and actually try its best to be a solvent of the copper. So this can even benefit barrels that have been hand lapped, but obviously a lot less. Hand lap barrels are not cheap, though, in a lot of cases. Okay, so I will be reloading 6.8. I'm very excited. I have a bunch of the components I need. And actually, ironically, the component I need the most right now is spent brass. But I'm only producing 1 piece per day that I'm able to go to the range, because I'm only firing 1 round at a time. Okay, so here's a third patch down, third wet patch after a soak. Okay, still pretty dirty, right? So do you have to do this? No, you don't. But I kind of feel like, hey, how many times do I break in a new 6.8 SPC barrel? Pretty rare for me. You know, this is my first one. I might make, maybe I'll buy 2 more in my time, because I really, really enjoy this cartridge. I've broken in 1 223 barrel this way. I'm very happy with the results. This is stainless barrels, and they're not nitrided. I don't think this does much if you buy a nitrided barrel. Okay, because it's so hard. The treatment is so hard. I don't really think it's going to do much for you. Chromed barrels, I would say yeah. And unlined, maybe chrome moly barrels, definitely this could work. But a nitrided barrel, I just really don't think so. Okay. All right, here's the 4th patch that's coming down. Now, maybe you'll see about the 12 o'clock position. There's a little hue of blue in there. All right, and that is not from the brass jag that I'm using. That is copper that's finally getting loosened up in the bore. So these first patches, that's just a lot of like powder, residue, and garbage. But now I'm into the 4th patch here, this after the first soak, and this Montana Extreme is starting to actually loosen up the copper that got deposited in that barrel. So when I go down the barrel with a Borescope, and this is not an expensive Borescope. It's like a $24 endoscope somebody found on eBay that has like a 0.21-ish diameter, so it works in a 22. When I go down that bore, the powder residue kind of comes up like muddy or like gray kind of smudge, but the copper shines. Okay, the Borescope has a light source in the front. The copper kind of like glows a little bit, or I guess it reflects. It doesn't glow. And you can see it. You can see it in there, especially, you're going to know the copper is going to be up here. You go look up there and you say, wow, look at that. There's some copper hanging out right in the groove. And, this stuff is trying to get rid of it. So let's pop this off. I don't need this on here right now. This gun is not sighted in. I just have this on here to get used to it because I don't really run a lot of optics. But, all right, let's set that down. Let's take this takedown pin out. I'll show you this little tool here. You guys hopefully know by now, if you've seen any of my other videos, I don't like to do a lot of like, here's a special tool. Here's some more tools for you to go by. I don't like doing that to you. But this little wheeler tool, it's been nice. So I'm gonna leave that in, and I'll take down the pivot pin in the front. This little bench vise here is really handy. I use it to mill. I don't use it on the Lazy Susan, but I'll use this. I have two of them. I use the other one to mill out 80% lower receivers on a table. But I don't know if that is in frame. Wonderful. That's going to sit like this, and I'm going to run the rest of the patches through upside down for that reason I was mentioning, where I want any solvent to rest up on the top of the bore because of that one spot with the gas port. Okay, so that's what I'm doing, about 15-minute soak, and I'll come back and I'll run 2 more wet, and then occasionally when I get bored, I will do a dry patch, or maybe 2 of them, just to kind of see what it looks like. And I just do this until it's clean. There's really no do it 6 times or 8 times. It's till you're getting clean patches.